Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody on a Saturday? I am fine. So my feet's all set. Now I think I have gout in my knee. I think it moved to my knee, if you can believe that one. It's crazy. It won't leave me. Anyway, that's far easier to handle than the feet. I can walk with my knee. I can't walk when you can't push your feet off. Anyway, so I hope everybody's well, doing well. Had a rough day yesterday, but I did make the one pick that I'm very proud of, which was Purdue losing. I warned you Purdue would not win their bracket. I didn't expect them to lose to Fairleigh Dickinson, the team from what was that movie from Animal House, but they did. I heard the idiot announcers after the game going, well, it was the bats out there, played a fast team. Really? This is your excuse? So let's run down the games. Michigan State 72-62. Actually, you know what? Let's look at today's first because of the time. So let's go through. All right. Michigan and Vanderbilt. What the fuck? They're not in the tournament. See, you're getting these. Okay, 12-10. San Diego State Furman. I can find them here. We have San Diego State minus 4.5, 135. Let's take a look at the matchup. So San Diego State, this is the 12-10 game, so we'll get into it. Now we got a half hour. San Diego State beat Charleston. So they're a 5 seed, beat the 12 seed. But it was high scoring. Or no, we go under, over. I think we went under. Hey, yeah, we went under. We got the W. So 135. If we look at the teams today, we got Furman 81-71. So they're pretty high scoring. Although we had them again in the under against Virginia also. And San Diego State 71-63. So San Diego State's an under team. Furman's an over team. So you take the under team. Furman beating Virginia, no big deal. San Diego, Furman's an 11 seed, whatever the hell that means. So I like I think I like San Diego. I think we're going to go under in the game. Let's go under. No, let's go back to green. I mean, I think San Diego State's the better team. Now, what I noticed the first day was a bunch of over teams. But you had Alabama, Kansas, Houston, all these 1 seeds just ripping the other teams, Texas. But yesterday you had more of the mid teams and there were a lot more unders. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to go under here. San Diego State's an under team, gets up 63 a game. Furman scores 81, but I don't think that's going to be happening here. I don't think they put up 81 on Virginia. So I like a lower scoring game in this one. Cincinnati, Hofstra, Jesus Christ. Why is there an NIT? There's like 100 games in the NCAA tournament. Why is there an NIT? All right, Duke, Tennessee. At first blush, I really love the under in this game. Duke, Tennessee. We've got Duke laying 3.5. And wow, 125.5. You got to be fucking kidding me. And even then, I'm still thinking under. So we know Tennessee, they're the Georgia. Look at that. They give up 57 a game. 60. Yeah, this is under. I'm going under, even though it's a low, it's 125. So it's like a Georgia 45 here in football, right? I don't love it, but there's no other way to play it. I mean, this is dead even, except for Tennessee's defense is 57 versus Duke 63. Neither team scores. They score low 70s. So we're going to go under 125 here. This game's at 240. All right. Arkansas and Kansas. Over here. In football, this was my lock over in the bowl game. Kansas minus 4.5 and 142. Let's see what we got here. Arkansas beats Illinois in an under 143. And Kansas, see here, Kansas played Howard and went over, but they're not playing Howard in this game. Arkansas 74-67, Kansas 75-67, 4.5, 142. Arkansas is a what? They are a 8 seed. Kansas is not a 1 seed, that's for sure. I'm going to go under on this game too. Now, I don't want to be too biased because what happened yesterday. Kansas, they score 75 and 74, so that's about 148. So it's right there, 142. The defenses, they'll be choking a little bit more. Yeah, I'm going to go under in the game. That's a 5:15 game. Then we go to Missouri and Princeton. And Missouri beat Utah State. Missouri's the 7th seed. Princeton's the 15th seed, but beat Arizona. Missouri minus 6.5. And 146. Let's see. Princeton, we bet it under against Arizona and won. And Missouri, we took Utah State and the 5.5. They won by 9, but not a big scoring game. Princeton scores 75, gives up 68. Missouri 79. So Missouri's more of an over team. Princeton's an even team. Princeton beats Arizona. Let's take Princeton in the points here. Go Army, beat Navy. Go Princeton, beat Missouri. 6.5 after beating Arizona. They certainly have confidence. Missouri's not that good that they should be 6.5-point favorites here. Princeton's got the much better defense, and the offense is about even. So I'm taking the defense. Auburn and Planet Houston. Houston's been struggling. And their defense is great, but their offense sucks. We got Houston minus 5.5 and 132. All right. Well, we know what Houston is. They're an A team. Auburn beats Iowa in an over game. So they can score. They're not going to score here. This is going to be low scoring. What's the line? 132. Yeah, look at Houston. 74-56. They were 85. Houston has played terribly. They were 85-58 when I first picked them up. Now they're 74-56. Really? And then we got Auburn 73-67. So I look at Auburn. Houston's much better. I'm going to take Houston here. Yeah, or do I take the under? No, I'm going to take under. Houston's not scoring. So they're not going to blow them out. And then 132 should be pretty – they'll hold Auburn down, and Auburn's got a fairly good defense. So let's go under. I know a lot of unders, but I don't really give a fuck. Penn State and Texas. Texas beats Colgate. Now they got Crest, and they're going to play Penn State of the Big Ten, who is not a basketball team. They're a football team. 138. And let's score it. Penn State scores 72, gives up 68. Tennessee 77. I'm taking Texas in this game. Lay the 5.5. I think they win this division. It's going to be them in Houston, but the way Houston's playing, but Texas has a better defense, better offense, and they're laying 5.5. So I'm going Texas. All right. UCLA Northwestern. UCLA. We love them in football. And Northwestern beating my Boise team. UCLA minus 7.5. They're laying a touchdown. We're going to have to tease them down to 1. That I would do if this was a football game, provided everybody played. And let's look at the scoring. So Northwestern 67-62. They're an under team, just like in football. And UCLA 74-60. I'm taking UCLA here. Much the better team. Look at this defense. They give up 60. Northwestern gives up 62. It's such a low under, though, 125. But UCLA scores 74, Northwestern 67. So UCLA, better offense, better defense. They're the 8 team. Northwestern's the 7 seed. UCLA by a touchdown. Tease them to 1.5 if you can do teasers. And last but not least, Alabama against Mary. Alabama laying 8.5, 142, and probably going to go over here. Mary scores 70, gives up 63. Alabama 82-68. Alabama 8.5, 142. Mary beat West Virginia as a dog. I'm going to go over. Even though their defense is 63, Alabama's going to light them up. So we go over. So now I'm not looking at injuries, but let's look at the game. So we got Alabama, 8.5, 142. We're going over. We've got San Diego State, Furman. We're going under 135. San Diego State, just like football, they're an under team. We've got Missouri and Princeton. Missouri laying 6.5, 146. We're going to take Princeton. We've got Duke and Tennessee. Duke minus 3.5, 125.5. I'm going under 125. This is a 5. This is going to be my 5-star. The rest are just little 2-3 stars. Just have some fun on a Saturday, on a college football Saturday. Houston 5.5, 132 to Auburn, who beat Iowa, who sucks. I'm going under 132. Houston is having trouble scoring, but their defense is unbelievable in the 50s. So they'll never get to 132. This will be another 5-star. Look at me. I'm giving 5 stars out already. Penn State and Texas. Penn State beat Texas A&M as the dog, and Texas beat the mighty Colgates. Texas 5.5, 138. I'm taking Texas minus 5.5. I just think they're playing very well right now. Penn State's okay, but not them. They lost to Purdue, so how good can they be? Kansas, Arkansas. Kansas 4.5, 142. Kansas kills Howard. Arkansas beats Illinois. Strong defensive teams here. You know, they're score 70, give up 65s. I'm going to go under. They went under Arkansas with Illinois, so I think they'll keep it under here. And Kansas ain't playing Howard. They're playing a real team. This is what blows my mind. Here you got this basketball tournament, Kansas playing Howard. But if it was in football and you dared had Alabama play New Mexico State, everybody would say, what's the point? They can't win. Well, here they get Howard, and it's like, you know, give me a break. So stupid. And last but not least, UCLA Northwestern. Northwestern beats Boise as a favorite, actually. And UCLA kills UNC Asheville, laying 17. We had UCLA there. Here, UCLA is laying 7.5, 125. UCLA can score. I like UCLA laying the 7.5. I think it stays close, but at the end, I think they're too much. Northwestern. Sorry, I'm not betting on a Northwestern UCLA game. I think we get a few touchdowns. If this was football, we'd be teasing it to 1.5 and locking it. So I gave 2 5 stars. Houston Auburn under, and Duke Tennessee under. Looking at Tennessee, man, they look like the Georgia defense in football, giving up 50 points, and then they only scored 50 against freaking Lou Lafayette, not Lou Lafayette. So there you have it. So this Duke's got a good defense. Tennessee, Duke ain't seen nothing like this defense. This is Georgia football betting the unders, man. That's exactly what we're doing here. Georgia football betting the unders. All right, so that's today's game. So the first game starts at 12:10. You got San Diego State Furman. And in that game, we are going under 135. And then you get a break till 240 Duke, Tennessee. So you're all set there. So Duke, Tennessee's the 5-star under. So that's what we have. Now, I loved it yesterday, picking Purdue. I didn't pick real well yesterday. I hit really well Thursday. And I hit a lot of – it was a lot easier. You had, Kansas killing Howard, Alabama killing Texas A&M. So you knew that those would be high-scoring games. Those were very easy games. Yesterday was a little bit more middle of the pack, and you had a little bit more where I thought overs were unders. And, and again, I'm trying to get my feet wet in this, so please bear with me. But when I do give you 5 minutes, I feel pretty comfortable with those. The others are probably 2 units. Make your own picks. If you like it, pick it. If you want, to go with my picks and you like my picks, then bet it small. I'm here to make you money. I don't feel, the 5 stars I can make you money. The others I can't. So let's go into it. So let's look at yesterday. We had Michigan State 72-62. We had USC. It was close, and then Michigan State at the end, laying 2.5. I thought they wouldn't. They're not really that good. Xavier, Kennesaw State. I think I had the game over. I don't know. Let's listen. Xavier wins by 5 over Kennesaw State. This is the hard game because you don't know Kennesaw State. And Xavier didn't play well. Where was I in that game? I went over 152, and the game scored 139, 140. Baylor, UC Santa Barbara. I think I hit this one. I can find Baylor. Baylor was, I went over 141, 10, 130. See, this is the tough one. The other day, those are fine. Here, Baylor gets a 130, and they don't go over. So again, not thinking Baylor's that good. St. Mary's in Virginia, I never picked this one. St. Mary's wins 63-51. I had no idea on this game. So they win by 12, but you can see all these games are lower scoring. This was 114. You saw everything in the 140s, 150s on Thursday. Here's a 114. Here you had a 110. Marquette, Vermont. This one I did have. This is a Nick play. I took Marquette minus the 10. They win by 17, 78-61. So now we see Marquette. Okay, they play Vermont. They haven't played, a great team. They did kill Xavier in the conference tournament. So they're rolling, but let's see. Who do they get next? They play Michigan State. I guess that's tomorrow. So that'll be an interesting one. Marquette against a good defensive team, Michigan State. We'll see. See, those are opposites. How do you bet it, right? Usually I bet defense in football. When a good defense plays an offense, I'll play the defense. So we will see. That'll be a good game tomorrow. Pitt over Iowa State, 59-41. I had this game under. This was a 100-point game. It was a 100-point. Iowa State scores 41 points. Is Pitt's defense really that good? This is one I hit. I had the game under because Iowa State is an under team in every sport, even bowling. So 131. I win it very easily. Iowa State was favored by 4.5, and Pitt kills them. So again, that's why I play more over unders. It's easier to see the game's going to be high or low scoring than here. Iowa State's laying 4.5 and gets killed. So you don't really know Pitt. NC State, Creighton. I liked Creighton in the game, 72-63. I thought it was North Carolina at first, but it was North Carolina State. So Creighton wins by 9, 5, 135. This is also an under. So 148, and it stays under. Everything's under yesterday. Connecticut, Iona. I think I had this game under. 10, 150. No, what did I have? Connecticut. Yeah, I had this game under 140. This game went to 150. So the game you wouldn't expect goes to 150. Connecticut 87, Iona 63. Is Connecticut that good? Who knows? I know one of our guys liked Connecticut, so he got a W there. 150, laying 9.5. See, you don't know Iona, so it makes it hard. Like here, Princeton beats Arizona, and Fairleigh Dickinson beats Purdue. So you don't know these. I don't know Iona. Now you get a better chance on Fairleigh Dickinson. You go, well, fuck, they beat Purdue. Not that they're any good. Purdue sucks. Again, bad coaching. Never should have been a 1 seed. I did warn you they're not going to come out of there winning the East. I told you that would be the fucked up bracket, and it is. So now you have Duke, Tennessee. If they win this, they get what? Florida Atlantic and Fairleigh Dickinson. So Duke goes all the way if they beat Tennessee. And then on the other hand, you got Kentucky, you got Kansas State, you got Michigan State, and you got Marquette. All 4 of those could go all the way. So, I mean, it's such a tough bracket. So probably, let's say, well, the Duke-Tennessee winner is going to play maybe Marquette, Michigan State winner. And Kentucky didn't look good. Kansas State looked good. So you got much tougher games than the South has. So Alabama strolls through, and the East is going to kill each other. Fairleigh Dickinson, 63. That was an easy one. We had it under 111, a 121, and the over-under is 146. What the fuck? And Purdue gets 58 points on Fairleigh Dickinson, right? I mean, what is that? This is a 1 seed against Fairleigh Dickinson. This is the problem with seeding. This is the problem why you can't watch ratings. The ratings are skewed. They're not real. They're just, you've got to make your own ratings. This is like college football. Georgia was always number 1. I'll never forget that one 2 years ago. Georgia's number 1 by a mile. Alabama loses, and then Alabama beats Georgia, and all of a sudden Alabama's number one, and you're like, well, Georgia laid down. Like, am I the only one who saw that? And then Georgia kills them in the championship game. But well, why was Alabama one? They lost to some shit team. Kentucky, 4.5, 142, gets the win over Providence by 8. I think I had that game under. What did I have? Kentucky. No, I had over 143 for 114. What are these low? Look at these games, 63-58, 61-53. What the fuck? This is how bad college basketball is. So a lot of these games are under. This is like blowing my mind after Thursday. Gonzaga in the Grand Canyon, I lost by 1. I had over 150. I had over 154. They played a 152. It's amazing how the end is. It was like really low scoring with like 17 minutes left in the second half, and then it ends at 152. So this is kind of what I thought. Gonzaga doesn't. Anybody that can play in the Grand Canyon, you got to give credit to. So 152. Total was 154, so they don't make it, but it's close. But you couldn't bet Gonzaga. They didn't have a defense. I thought they would have scored more. Grand Canyon doesn't have a great defense, and Gonzaga averages like 85 a game. They didn't make average. Miami and Drake, I think I had Drake here. Yeah, I had Drake in 2.5. They lose by 7. Over under 145 again, 119. I mean, these games don't even get to 120. It's unbelievable how bad, and it's bad coaching, it's bad playing, it's bad offense. It's not great defense. 63-56 is a joke here. 145, and I thought about the over, which didn't even come close. I didn't play the over. I played Drake. Memphis, Florida Atlantic. I was shocked on this score because Memphis had just beaten Houston twice in a row. So my skill on Houston is looking at the numbers. They must have an injury I don't know about because Houston sucks right now. Memphis beats them twice in a row. Florida Atlantic beats them 66-65. Laying 1. I have Memphis minus the 1. They lose 66, and again, 11, 100, 131, another under by 20 points. Yeah, let me hear how Vegas knows how to hit those, nails the totals. Yeah, sure they do. Again, another 20-point miss by Vegas, 131. Did I circle an over or under? No, I didn't. 151. How do you get 130 and a 151? Unbelievable. Kansas State, finally a winner. I had Kansas State as my 5-star over. Finally, I get an over. 142. I just make it. My over's 140, 5-star, and they get 143, 142. 77. They win by 12, laying 7.5. Again, you don't know Montana State, Kansas State. So Kansas State wins by 12, gets it over. TCU, Arizona. I believe I hit this one. Yeah, I got Arizona plus 5, or Arizona State plus 5. TCU's got some injuries. They do win by 2. 142. The over-under in this game was 142. They hit it right on the nose. Finally, a 70-point game, 72-70. It's unbelievable how bad college basketball is that the teams can't score 70 points in a game. It's fucking ridiculous. That's why I took so many unders today. You just don't have good players. I mean, if you don't have good players, I was watching the Kentucky game and I saw miss after miss after miss. I mean, it was like they suck. They couldn't hit a wide open 3 to save their lives. And the question is, why do you keep shooting threes if you can't make them? So TCU, 72-70, Arizona State, and 4.5, 5's a W. In Indiana, Kent State, I have Kent State in 4.5. I lose that one because I don't think Big Ten's any good. They win 71-60 at 131 over under on this game. was 140. Again, a 70, another under 131. So it just shows you how bad these teams are, that they don't, but you're kind of blinded. You take Kent State. Is Indiana that good? I don't know, but I'm not watching it, right? I'm not watching the Big Ten all year, and I can say, oh, Indiana's great. Kansas State, Montana State. Is Montana State really good? Kansas State beats them by 12, or Kansas State suck? All I can say is I like Texas because they beat Kansas, Alabama, UCLA. What do we got? Purdue losing. So Duke's playing. Apparently, Duke got a lot of players back. Marquette looks like the real deal. So I like the way Marquette and Texas and UCLA are playing right now. And Alabama, I don't like Kansas. They got killed by Texas. Houston looks like shit. Princeton, here's Alabama's bracket. Well, the 4 seeds knocked out Virginia by Fordham, and the 2 seed Arizona's knocked out by Princeton, and then Baylor, the 3 seed, does advance, beating Bobby Knight and the UC Santa Barbaras. So I mean, there's really not. Alabama will cruise through that. So you can pencil Final Four: Alabama, Texas, UCLA, and God knows out of the East. Marquette, Duke, Kentucky. Now maybe not Kansas State. Memphis is gone, and Purdue I knew would be gone. I mean, that was the easiest one, Purdue. So that is college basketball. So once more, we'll look at today's. There's not a lot. I don't know what is the NIT going on. Indiana State, USC, Upstate. What the fuck is that? Furman 2-0 over San Diego State. So that's our first game, and I think that's the under. Yeah. So you don't have a lot of games today, and then tomorrow it'll be the same, the other 8. And then we get down to the nitty gritty. So we go from 64. Now we're at 32. We end up with 16 after Sunday. But it's a stupid. This is not the best team in America who wins this. Right? You got Purdue losing to a team that they would never play. It's sort of like if we looked at the playoffs, Kansas City playing Oakland. They would never play them in the playoffs because Oakland's not good enough. And that's the problem with it. They would never play Fairleigh Dickinson. How can you take that serious that they would be in a tournament, right? Now, is Purdue the best team in the country? Probably not. But this is not the way to get the best team. This is just a tournament, right? Who wins the tournament is not the best team in the country. Now, if you got to the Final Four, it's Alabama, Marquette, Texas, UCLA. Now let's have best 2 out of 3. Then you're going to get the best team. Maybe you go to the Final 8, right? So Houston, Texas, Kansas, UCLA, Marquette, and Duke, and Alabama and Princeton, and you let them play a 2 out of 3, and then the winners advance. That would be the best team. Then you got the best team, right? But the way they do it now, it's a joke. It's all, if you're lucky to get a good matchup. Alabama's playing at home. What the fuck is that? They're playing at Alabama, Birmingham. What is that? It's a joke. UCLA gets to play at Sacramento, but it's not the same because that's Northern California. Denver, the Grand Canyon was playing at Denver. Albany, New York, UConn. Okay, so there's a little bit of home field advantage there, but basically that's what you see. So it's basically, you watch the team playing if they're good. So there's my friend talking about CDBCs. He's saying the whole idea is to take the money control away from us. Well, you can't, especially if you have gold and silver. But, to switch topics on this CDBC and the banking crisis and economics just for a second, it's only good if people will allow it. If you choose not to join the central bank digital currency, which won't be ready till 2030 anyway, you don't join it, right? Who's going to want the feds to control your money? Nobody, right? Once people realize that, they're not going to want to do it. So I get the whole idea is to take the money control away from us. Who's going to let them do that? What does that mean? Well, I want to go get groceries. Can I get groceries? Are you seriously thinking this is going to see? This is like electric cars, right? We're going to go to electric car. Well, nobody wants it, so it won't work. You cannot. You get into Say's law, supply creates demand. I want electric cars. I'll make it at this price. If I make it here, it's too expensive. But there's got to be the demand. If you don't have this, you can't have that, right? If nobody wants central bank digital currency, if there's no demand, then it doesn't matter what happens here. And there won't be demand for it. Now, maybe it'll be bailouts or it'll be, something. But, okay, you sell your gold, you got to take central bank digital currency. Yeah, I'd be really reluctant to sell my gold if that was the case, or I'd go to Switzerland. But I just don't, they're trying to scare you into taking it, but there's always options. They can't force it down your throat, just like they can't force Bitcoin down your throat or electric cars. They can't just do it because they say they want to. So let me go to my guy. I'm watching my Alistair McLeod guy.
Did you know that you can pee out blood sugar? It's a brand new method people are using to achieve healthy A1C levels.
Or you can just fast.
This current hiatus in the banking system is smoothed over. They're going to be more trillion.
All right, we'll listen to my video in a minute. But so with basketball in the tournament, the problem is you don't know the team. This would be like college football, right? You've got occasionally you get Army playing Michigan or Oklahoma, but we see how good Army is. But it's teams like, Arkansas State playing Georgia. I mean, they're just out of class. And you have to realize that there's just different skill sets. There's different players. There's different levels. And so you have to realize that it's not, so when you're watching college basketball, how does Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue? And it's because Purdue's not that good. But you get scammed into believing they're the 1 seed. How are they a 1 seed? What makes them a 1? They won the Big Ten. Big deal. The Big Ten sucks this year. So this is really the problem in all of life, right? You don't know, so you listen to it. You don't know what's going on with the banking. You don't know what's going on with the money, the gold. You don't know what's going on in football. You don't know what's going on in basketball. And so you listen to people who you don't know if you should listen to them or not. And that's really the problem. So you have to determine who to listen to and who not to listen to. So I'm an example. I'm in the hot tub. I'm the professor. I know all this shit. There's shit I don't know, but when I know this shit, I know it. And so I'm talking to the communists because I don't want to talk to the communists, but I kind of clear it up like, we're not talking communist shit. I'm telling you what's going on. He says, do you want me to take you at face value? If you say buy gold, should I just listen to you or check it out. And I'm saying, you should just listen to me, but you don't know you should listen to me. So you should listen to what I'm saying, then go home and check it out if you want. You're going to see I'm right, because I don't bullshit around. I don't lie. I tell you what I know, right? I know inflation. You're printing money, right? That's what I know. And if I'm up, this because I know what I'm telling you is right. And you could go check it out, and, off you go with that. But basically, from my side, like the diet guy, right? So my blood pressure was high and I was heavy and blood sugar was high. I determine who to listen to, right? Wait a minute, can I reverse diabetes and insulin resistance? So I filter it on YouTube and I find a doctor, and the way he explains it and the way my sixth sense is, I go, yeah, I can listen to this guy. But it wasn't the first guy I listened to. So it's got to make sense. And then it's a trust issue. But the way he explained it, I go, yeah, this guy makes sense. I'm listening to this guy. That's the guy I show you. Now you can trust me that I'm showing you that, or you can look for other guys, or you can watch them, and does that make sense to you? But that's what I did, and I've done it, and I did the fast, and I lost the weight, and my blood pressure, blood sugar went down, the diabetes went down, the insulin resistance, everything went down, and now I'm very healthy. So you can see as an example that, well, it's the same thing I do with gold and silver. I buy it, and I show you I buy it, and then I say this is the only way out, because it's the only competition for the dollar. The biggest flack I get is people going and saying, well, Howard, yeah, but gold and silver hasn't gone up in 50 years. And you're like, so the real battle is the derivative market. When does it get destroyed? That's really the question. I was watching some idiot yesterday and I was getting frustrated, and he's talking about, all I can do is a technical analysis on gold and silver. So maybe silver hits $28 an ounce based on derivative technology. He doesn't even understand that the derivatives is paper, is fixed market. And therefore you can't say gold and silver is that. You have to say physical gold will be much higher once we get out of the derivative, once there's competition for the derivative market. So you got to understand the whole concept of competition. There's competition with my barbecue place. That's why he's not $80 for a slab of ribs, because he can't. Well, I'll go somewhere else if he makes it $45. Plus, we only want to pay $25 for it. So there's a lot of that people have to understand. So when this guy's listening to me in the hot tub and he's saying, well, I wonder if I should listen to you, you have to develop a way to listen, right? Why would you listen to anybody? So that's the point. Why do you listen to anybody? Because you don't know, but you want to learn. And then it's got to make sense to you. And then you got to back it up. So in football, I back it up. I give you the KC over Super Bowl, and there it is. KC wins. It goes over. So I back it up. That's who I bet on. I give you the game. It's on here. You see it. Exactly what I say happens. And so I back it up. So you're comfortable with me picking football games. Picking basketball, I'm warning you, wait a minute, I don't know it like I know football, but I can use my same thought processes and concepts to try to pick winners. Alabama over, Kansas over, Marquette. I mean, so that we can do, but we don't know the players that well or the coaches. We need a little bit more time with that, but it's so many games and it's in the middle of my football season. I focus on football. So I'm warning you, be careful on mine. I gave you a 5-star Houston under, and I gave you a 5-star on Duke, Tennessee under. So I gave you, I feel comfortable not betting a lot, but betting a little. Bet $100 on those two. The rest bet $20 on. So I'm giving you that if you don't know, but you trust me. So then, since you trust me, now I tell you about what's going on in gold and silver and the money supply and everything else. And so I looked at the definition of money supply, and it's basically it's current assets, which means it's money, it's the savings account, maybe debit and credit card, but it doesn't have to be necessarily cash, but it counts as cash. So if I got money in my savings account, I really don't have this, but this is in my savings account. And there's $20 trillion in it. That's heavy inflation, because we know inflation is you're devaluing the money, and the more you have, the less it's worth. Now you have these bank bailouts. So they're now on Alistair's video that he came out with yesterday, he says, well, now we don't have to worry about the bail-ins. So I tried to warn you, there could be bail-ins. In other words, the bank fucks up. Now the banks should go out of business, but they won't do that. So the banks either get bailed out by the government or do a bail-in where they steal everybody's money. Well, it looks like, according to Alistair, they're just going to do bailouts. So the government's going to give them money. Okay, so now your money's kind of safe in the bank, right? You got 20 grand in it. Oh, you're going to have to wait for FDIC, and you got a huge risk, and you got better things to do with your money than leave it in a bank account that you know is not safe. So that's what your concern is. And the key is you've got to understand the banks run the government, not the other way around. JP Morgan runs the Federal Reserve. So of course he's going to do bailouts. So he's going to give money. However, what's a bailout? They're giving them $1 trillion. Where are they getting it from? They're printing it. What does that mean? More inflation. Because if they're printing the money, in other words, out of thin air, we're going to make another $1 trillion and give it to the banks. So the banks, who are all fucked, can get solvent again. So it's it's like, let's go to Madoff. So this is Madoff, right? What happened? The guys were giving Madoff money, and he was giving it out to the people who wanted it. So you're with Madoff. You don't know how you're making 15%, but you like it. And you ask for, give me 100,000, and then he gives you 100,000, but he gets the 100,000 from some new guy who puts in the 100,000. Ponzi scheme. As long as somebody's putting it in, I can give it to you out. It failed when nobody else was putting it in and everybody wanted it out. And that's kind of what's happening now. Everybody wants out of the banks and nobody's putting in. It's the same Ponzi scheme. I really have a hard time believing and understanding that all these banks, you have 5 failures now plus Credit Suisse, all got fooled by the interest rates going up. They all put their money in T-bills and at 1%, and now it's 5%, and the value of the bond goes down when interest rates go up. So now the value of these bonds are nothing. And we're to believe that they're all this stupid. You're running a bank and you buy, and then interest rates are going up. But apparently, I think what happened is they put it in like a 5-year T-bill instead of like a 90-day T-bill. So instead of rolling it in 90-day increments so you don't get burned, they went into, a 5 or 10-year increment. And now the interest rates are high, and then the value of the bonds drop. So it's like a stock, right? You bought Amazon at 100, now it's at 50. Well, you really don't lose if you don't sell, but it is worth a lot less. So that's basically what happened in the bond, right? Interest rates dictated the price to drop. So you're in Amazon at $100. So this is how the Ponzi scheme works. So I'm a bank. Bobby gives me 100,000. I lend it out, or I buy something with it. I give Bobby 1%. I take his money and I make money on it. That's what a bank does. So Bobby's 100,000's over here, and I go buy Amazon stock, or here bonds, but we'll keep it easy. It's stock. I bought 100,000 of Amazon stock with Bobby's 100,000, but now the stock's down to 50. Oh, I didn't see the recession coming. I'm a moron. And then Bobby wants his money. He gets a little scared, or he wants to buy gold. Give me my 100 grand. Well, I don't have it because I would have to sell the Amazon to give it to him. But since the Amazon went from $100 to $50, I only have 50,000 to give him, but Bobby wants his 100,000. What am I supposed to do? I'm fucked. I made a mistake. Sorry, Bobby, I can only give you 50. So it's either I only give Bobby 50, Nick gives me another 50, so I can give Bobby the 100, Or here comes the Federal Reserve, aka JP Morgan. I'll give you the 50,000 to give to Bobby, is what they're saying. So I'm going to bail you out. You fucked up. I'm going to bail you out. Here's 50,000. You can give Bobby his 100. But then there's 1,000 Bobbies and 1,000 situations, and I owe them all 50,000. And now here comes, they should let me fail because I fucked up, but they won't. They're going to make me whole. Where does that come from? They printed it. You've just printed 50,000 times, 1,000 people who none of them can get their money out whole. They can get pieces of it out. And, instead of stealing from the other people in the bank, we're going to get from the government. They're going to print money, which is basically heavy duty inflation, which devalues the currency, because it's all part of the plan for whatever reason to kill the currency. So this helps. So the bailouts are, I don't know if they're planned. I don't know what the fuck's going on, how these banks could all be that stupid, but they're basically, they're all basically doing it. And then the Fed's going to print more money, which is more inflation. And then, so the question is, why is the Fed blowing itself up? And because we're run by China is the only answer. So that explains the banks, right? So the banks are taking Bobby's, here's how a bank works. You give me 100,000, I give you 1%, Bobby, interest, but I still have your 100 grand. And then my goal is to get 5% with Bobby's 100. Normally I would loan it out to people who would buy a house or a car or start a small business. That's normally what the banks would do. They'd loan it out to people with good credit, and the people with good credit would then come in and they'd buy a house, and I'd give them the money for the house, and then they'd pay us back, $1,000 a month for 30 years or whatever. And, would Bobby come in for the money? You wouldn't normally have a bank run unless there's a reason to have a bank run. So people mistakenly think their money's safe in a bank. Well, you're just holding it for me as if it's a vault. So if I put my gold in a safe and put the safe in a U-Haul, I think my money's safe there, right? See, this is the difference. If I have the gold and I put it in, you can't fuck with me. You can't just print more gold. If the bank fails, you're not going to print more gold or copy more. You can't. That's not what it is. You can't fuck with gold. That's why I tell you to buy it, right? This is how much there is. That's it. There's more demand. The demand's huge for gold, especially at this price. So you end up where you're comfortable with gold, you're protected. But in money, you're not. And so you put it into a bank thinking you're protected. And the bank says, oh, we don't have your money, or we can't give it to you, or whatever. Or they're gonna start printing more of it. So at the end of the day, you don't have your money. You think the money is yours in the bank. It isn't. It's like Social Security. You put in, you make 100 grand and you pay 7.65%, and the employer matches it. That's 15%. So you think you have, but that should be $15,000. Of your 100,000 should be in your account in Social Security, but it isn't. It gets taken and it goes and pays people that have retired that want the money, and you don't have anything. Talk about a Ponzi scheme. This whole FDR, he killed the country in the 1930s. So anyway, it's the misconception that you think you have money in the bank, which you don't. You have a balance in the bank, but there's no, safety deposit box with professor, $50,000. So I took the money out and said, I don't trust you. There could be bank runs because I'm seeing what's happened in the other parts of the world. So I sit there and go, give me my money. I leave $5,000 in and I run to the gold store. What am I going to do? I either put the money in my safe at home, 50,000 or 45,000, or I turn it into an asset, gold and silver, because I know this is losing value because they keep doing inflation. They keep printing money. They're bailing out these companies. This is worth less and less and less and less. Nobody wants it. So I'm looking at all this, what's going on. I got other countries, nobody wants the US. We're the reserve currency because of the oil, but guess what? Saudi Arabia is no longer taking the petrodollar, it's the petro yuan. So all of it, and they'll take gold and they'll take other currencies. So all of a sudden, we're not the reserve currency because of oil. 80 countries don't want anything to do with us. And now here comes the problem. But where do they put their money? So when I realize this is worthless, what do? I run and buy gold and silver. And the kicker is gold and silver has been kept cheap by JP Morgan's derivatives. So you got to understand everything, right? You got to understand that it's being held down. It's not the real value. That's the key to it. Most of these idiots have no clue that it's not the real value. They're sitting there going, well, look at the derivative market. The real price of silver is $21. And you're like, that's not the real price. So I guess I'm the only one. Maybe it's my INFJ in me that I can see things other people can't. Is, dude, it's not a $21 an ounce silver. It's much, much higher because they're producing derivative paper without the physical and they're keeping the price down artificially. Therefore, it's not the real price. And I know the demand is huge. So I go, if it's normal supply demand, Mickey Mantle cards here, it's worth $1 million. Tom Brady's rookie cards worth, 50,000, 100,000. Jordan's rookie cards $1.5 million, but you can see these have the demand. So you're telling me gold and silver has no demand, but all the central banks are buying it. Russia, China, India, all these countries are buying it. So therefore, what is it telling you? It's telling you that that it's worth a lot more. So this is why I buy it. So we are very lucky we can buy silver. I can go to the coin store now and buy it for 25 an ounce. I just went earlier in the week, bought 20 ounces. Once I saw the bank run happening, I thought it would go very quickly, which I think it will. I'm hearing April. I don't know. It's when does JP Morgan? Well, what we need is competition, right? Competition is the key to everything. And so therefore, when you have a monopoly like COMEX, like JP Morgan, they can keep the price low until there's competition, which is the Russia and China. So when I got 40,000 tons of gold and Russia's got 20,000 tons, China's got the 40, I don't need any more. I need the value to go up. So now I would love it to be 30,000 an ounce for gold. Then him with the gold wins and I win. And the U.S. loses. So JP Morgan is keeping the price low because the U.S. doesn't have any gold. Because if they did, they'd want the price to go up, but they don't. So the U.S. has their currency in dollars going to zero. Even if they do the central bank digital currency, what are they going to use? They don't have gold. So if they use this, it won't last 5 minutes, right? And everybody's like, oh, I don't want to be controlled. I don't want central bank digital currency. There's going to be options. There has to be this because there's too much. You go to the casino, what are you going to play digital dollars? I mean, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. So where they want to scare you into it. If they got to scare me into it, it must not be too good. Look at all the bank collapses. You better get into digital currency. I mean, you can see it happening already. They're trying to scare everybody. And people are taking their money out, putting it into Bank of America, putting it into JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, So people are moving their money from these small banks into the bigger banks. Now, keep in mind, these banks that have collapsed are not people banks. They're businesses doing startups and stuff like that. And the people running them are not the smartest eggs they're not the smartest people, let's just say. So it's phony in my mind. It's to scare you. It's about getting you into control, into the digital currency. But they feel if they just introduced it, nobody would take it. So they got to scare you. They're trying it with electric cars, but it's the same thing. I laugh. Tesla says, oh, we're going to build 1 million units next year. Bullshit. First of all, you don't have demand for 1 million units. You don't have the money for it. You don't have the silver and lithium to make the batteries. Bullshit. You're making 1 million. He might say it, but he'll never make it. And then you're going to sell them to who? Nobody's going to have money to buy them. Plus, nobody wants them. So you're going to lose your ass making 1 million units. So I don't buy any of that. See, again, people can say whatever they want, but how much is real and then how much do people believe it? So in that sense, we need competition from COMEX. JP Morgan, we're keeping silver down to 20, 21. It's not the real price because it's manipulated and fixed because the US doesn't have any, right? So therefore, competition will raise the price because Russia and China come in and say, no, it's $500 an ounce for silver. What does COMEX do? They've got to compete or they're out, right? So they either raise the price. We don't really care because Russia, China wants the price higher. And that's what everybody's waiting for. When's it going to go up? It's been 50 years. 99% of the people don't realize it's being held down by JP Morgan on purpose, because if it goes to market, the US doesn't have any, and therefore they would be broke because Russia, China, India has tons of it. And therefore they would all of a sudden be the best, they would win. So they'd be much more powerful than us. And, our military wouldn't survive 5 minutes without money. So that's really what's happening with gold and silver, or basketball, football, whatever. You got to have competition. And when I argue about Austrian economics, that's what I argue about. It's about freedom, it's about individual, and it's about competition and substitution. Meaning there can't be one barbecue place, but several. And if the ribs get too high, you buy steaks or chicken. And if you go to the grocery store, there's competition. There's the higher end and the lower end. And then if the steaks get too high, you buy hamburger or you buy ribs or you buy chicken. I'm noticing grass-fed, Bobby. I'm noticing grass-fed meat finally at Meijer's and at some of these other grocery stores. And it's like $12 for a pound. Well, I'm not running and paying $12 for a pound. If the price comes down, I would. It's the same thing with you should eat wild salmon, not farm raised salmon, because there's a lot more polluted in a farm raised where they're all together, where if they're swimming in the wild, it's much healthier for you. So, but that's more expensive also. So it's got to get down to market, or is the market that much? I don't know. I just haven't been buying salmon because it's like $20 for farm raised. I said, fuck that, I won't buy it. However, sometimes I notice in the freezer section they will be wild caught salmon in the bag already. And it's like $10 and it's like a pound. So I'll buy that and it's in my freezer type of thing. So it's all competition. So when you explain you're buying gold and silver, you're getting out of this. And what the banks are doing by bailing out these banks, they're printing more of this, making this value go down. Now, what should be happening, gold and silver should be going up, because all inflation is this value has went down, meaning it takes more of this to buy that, to buy products, to buy anything. But why aren't they going up? Because it's being depressed on purpose. It's being price fixed, right? So we know that won't last forever. We know it'll finally go to this if this doesn't go out. So therefore, we know soon once it's gone, you've just printed $10 trillion and the price of gold and silver hasn't moved. How could that possibly be? Because the dollar has to be worth a hell of a lot less with $10 trillion being printed. Now they're printing another $2 to save the banks. Well, that's more inflation. Gold and silver should be going up even higher now, but it's not. So it's a buying opportunity. It's like buying steak at $2 a pound. We know it should be more, but if they want to keep it to $2 a pound, I'm buying all the New York strip I can find. And that's basically what you have. You have to think of it as it's the opportunity of a lifetime to buy silver at $20, $25 an ounce. It's unbelievable. Even gold at 1900, it's unbelievable. Now gold, COMEX actually jumped through the roof yesterday. So if we look at our gold price, I think it was up $50 on COMEX, right? All the banks are buying, and COMEX, the guy can't price fix it. All right, so let's look at what the gold price did yesterday on COMEX, which is fantasy land. So again, we know it's not real. We understand that. There's the first good thing we see right off the bat. Gold ends week at 11-month high. Silver prices soar because of inflation. See, people get it, but you can't look at COMEX as that. So let's see. On Friday, gold for April delivery tacked on $50 to close at 1973. It was just 1810 last week. Gold is surging on fears that more bad banking news could appear over the weekend and hopes that the Fed will pause its rate hikes next week. Gold prices soared 5.7% on the week after gains. Silver for May delivery jumped 77 cents or 3% to 22.46. Okay, so it didn't really, that's nothing. Again, they're looking at derivative price fixed. But there's the gold futures 2009, which we know at a zero is really where they're at. It's really 20,000. I think if you add a zero, then you get the actual price. So here yesterday, up $66. And this is on derivative price fixed, and silver at 22.60. Well, we know both of these prices are bullshit. You can add at least 2 zeros to silver and at least 1 zero to gold. So gold should be 20,000 at least. But again, this is derivatives. So even on derivatives, it's going through the moon. They can't even stop it on the derivatives. Now, this is all price fixed by JP Morgan. This is people realizing I can't be in this. No matter what happens to the banks, they're being bailed out. It's more inflation. They're being bailed out by this shit, which is backed by nothing. So you can't have fantasy money backing your dollar, and then you think you have any value in the dollar. I would say the dollar is at like 0.0001. So $100 bill is worth basically $2, right? But it says 100, so people are scammed into thinking they're being made off. They're actually thinking it's worth 100. Go spend it on what you think you could get for $100, which you can't. And that's the beauty. You can buy shit now that's so low, that's so cheap. Anything you buy now, you buy a $50 shirt, it's really you're really spending $5 on it. But at the end of the day, what do? We found the best thing to buy, gold and silver. Maybe a Rolex if you want. But gold and silver, you're buying silver at $25 an ounce. Do you realize that's like you're paying $2 an ounce for silver? Basically, because the 100 is worth nothing. But since all the prices, it's the mirage, since all the prices haven't really reflected, right? Bread should be $100, is still, $2, $3 or maybe $4. I don't know. I don't buy bread. I was in the grocery store. I bought $50 worth of stuff that probably should be $500. The hyperinflation is getting very close. This bank thing is another thing. Now, when people say this is their plan, I doubt very seriously that the U.S. government has enough intelligence to create and carry out a plan. This is not Money Heist and the professor who makes a plan that understands what the fuck's going on. This is the U.S. government. There isn't an intelligent person in the U.S. government. You see Biden, you see this, all these idiots in there. They don't know what day it is. They're going to make a plan. Really? No, that's impossible. Or they're gonna make everybody go on electric cars. Well, that ain't happening. They're gonna make everybody go into digital dollars. That's not happening. People will not do it. There is no Say's law. There is no demand for it. The people that'll get on it are probably people that to get the bailout, they'll need digital dollars. It's not even ready. There isn't any digital dollar in play till 2030, right? They haven't even started testing it yet. There's nothing there. I go to the boneyard to my barbecue place. Well, you guys ready for digital dollars? There's not. Nobody's telling us anything. They're not even able to take it. So you're gonna okay, throw away your money. Now we're going digital, but we don't have it ready yet. What are we supposed to do? So the next phase in this little fantasy that these fucking Nazis are trying to do is move us into everybody goes into JP Morgan and Wells Fargo and Bank of America. That's what they're trying to move you from the small banks to the big banks. That's what they did with COVID, was to get the mom and pop stores to close. So you go to Walmart and McDonald's and stuff like that. Well, that didn't even work either. There's still mom and pop stores out there. The ones that closed probably didn't know what they were doing in the first place. So the market, we are the market. And if we say, fuck you, we don't want digital currency, we don't want digital currency. Now you have either, you need this, but what will this be? They'll come out with new dollars. We can move to another country, but what country is good? The funny part is it's probably Russia and China, because their dollar is going to be backed by gold. And so whoever has the gold where you want to be, but you don't want to be locked in China and Russia. Those probably aren't the places to go to, but maybe somewhere in Europe or Hong Kong or someplace like that. Maybe that's where we live, right? We don't have to live in America. It used to be great. Fucking the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 70s were the best team, but they're not anymore. So you have to, everything evolves. So that's one of the big keys that you must understand. So we're sitting back waiting. All right, the U.S. is fucked. They have no gold. They can't come out with currency backed by gold because they don't have any. You can't just get it. If they're not buying it now, they're fucking morons, because it's 1,800 an ounce, 1,900 an ounce. So it's all in Russia, China, and India. So it's all going there. They want the price up. How long can we keep it low? I don't know. As soon as there's competition, it's all over. And once it goes, you think this is a big day, right? Oh, it went up, $90. If this was really at market, and not this bullshit of COMEX writing fake derivatives to lower the price. If this was truly at market, right? Like Mano baseball cards. If this is Mano baseball cards, the price of gold right now would be at least $50,000 an ounce. The price of silver would be a minimum of $2,500 an ounce. A minimum, probably a lot more. The demand, because once the demand sees it, once the people see silver's at 2,000 an ounce and they realize they listen to the wrong people and they're fucked, they start coming in, and then more demand jacks the price up. So right now the demand's not there because people don't think it's going to go, because they don't understand JP Morgan keeping the price down. And so I'm convinced between one of two things. Either JP Morgan's keeping it low because they're getting paid off by the Russians and Chinese to buy more of it, or, and probably in combination, we don't have any gold and silver. So if we let the price run up, all of a sudden China and Russia are running everything because we don't have any. our value goes to zero, their value goes to the moon. And I think that's probably more realistic of what's happening than anything. Why are you keeping it down? Now, part of it is to keep this as a monopoly, that the dollar, but the monopoly's gone. I mean, it's not oil, it's not the petrodollar anymore, and all these countries are getting off of it. And you can see that. And when we have a bank problem, it's international, right? There was Germans and Russians and Chinese in the Silicon Valley Bank. It's any startup in the world. So people are realizing we're fucked, and they're all getting the hell out of the dollar, but there's nowhere to go. So the problem is, if I'm Germany or I'm Euro, okay, I want to get out of the dollar. Now here's the argument. What's the competition? I can't go into Russia. We just sanctioned Russia. We don't trust the Chinese. The Japanese are broke. Do we go Hong Kong? Where do we go? Switzerland? All the dollars are fucked because they're not backed by gold. So they stay in the US dollar because there's nowhere else to go. Except gold. And that's the competition for this. And that's why you see all the central banks buying gold and silver. So obviously the demand is huge. So you can't worry that there's no demand for it. That's the first key that I can tell you. And if we look at a Mantle card, high demand means high price. So we know the price is higher. We know we need competition for JP Morgan. And this is the big $64,000 question. Oh, the price is low. I don't want to buy gold. Well, gold is not Amazon stock. Gold is not a stock. It's money, right? But because it's being held down, it's going to have a huge value also. But you can't stay in this. So this is the first thing. You can't stay in it. Okay, back to the first topic I said, which was, okay, if you have to know who to trust. How do you know what doctor to trust? How do you know which finance guy to trust? If they can explain it the way I did, this is worthless, there's heavy inflation, your only out is gold. If they can explain it like that, you can trust them. Now, the biggest problem is nobody understands what inflation is. They all think it's prices. Inflation is killing this value, period. Now, when this moron says, well, it's either demand pull or cost push, again, demand pull, it's the type of inflation, but it's the inflation. The inflation is this. That's the type of the inflation. So when it says money supply increases faster than prices, is demand pull. Prices raise inflation rates, but it doesn't mean that's the inflation. That's the type of inflation. But the inflation itself is you're printing too much money. The money supply increases. If the money's, then it's cost push if the money supply equals prices. So again, you're printing more money. And then the last is the hyperinflation. The money supply increases, but the prices increase faster. It's all money supply increasing. That is the inflation, is the money supply increasing. Then it's just, are the prices up or faster or slower? But it's all the money supply. And that is 20 trillion, as I showed you the other day. So keep that in mind. What is going on? That's really the key to it. It's money supply, which is them printing money. Or they might do it through the banks, or here's these bailouts. That's inflation. They're coming up with, they might not be handing them a dollar, but it's increasing money supply. So now they're at 22 trillion. There's huge debt and huge money supply. As Alistair said on his video, which I'll show you the video and then we'll get into it. So, as he says, it's
do you want to try that survival food you keep seeing on Facebook? But
I hate these commercials. YouTube's the worst.
That shows, I think, something like.
So this is the video. right here. He just did this, I think, yesterday. This is on Liberty and Finance. I really don't like the Liberty and Finance guy, but it's there 2 days ago, and it's Alistair. This will lead to currency destruction, which is inflation, is what he's saying. That's the inflation, is currency destruction, because you print more. That's why you need money backed by gold, because you cannot print it. So what do I say? Scarce. Qualities of medium of exchange must be scarce. High value. Overabundance loses value. So you got to keep the value of your money high. When you print it, AKA hoops, when you print the money, it becomes worthless because there's too much out there. You've hurt the value, and that's exactly what you're doing. This is a hoops card. So that's what the inflation is. That's why if the money isn't backed by anything, they just keep printing. The fact gold isn't like through the roof is just ridiculous, because you can see it's being held down. Why would Oreo cookies be $4.79 a pack? It used to be $2. How come they went up? How come Coke's going to $2.79, $2.99, whatever, and that? So that's really the bullshit of it. The gold and silver are much, much higher. So you're able to get it cheaper. Now, yes, you're going, well, it hasn't gone up. Why will it go up? It doesn't matter. This is going down, right? This is the key. This doesn't have any value anymore. It's basically out. Nobody wants it. It's not a petrodollar. So therefore, yes, the U.S. is the best of the bad. And people who want to get rid of their money, the euro, go to the U.S. dollar because they don't know where else to go. But that's where they go into gold and silver. So your way out of your dollar is gold and silver, not U.S. dollars. But until there's new competition for it, people are still in the U.S. dollar. But that's fading fast. And as the BRICS countries come out with a dollar backed by gold, because they know they can't sell. Nobody's going to want a ruble or a yuan, right? So all these countries know India doesn't want to buy rubles; they want to buy gold. That's why India buys all the gold. So they know the real answer is gold. So they're going to come out with money backed by gold. I think the U.S. is threatening war with Russia and China because they're coming out with a gold backed currency, and they're saying, "You want to go to war? We'll go to war. I don't think you want to, and I don't think you can afford it, but we'll do that." And so I think that's really the story behind Russia and China, is to make the U.S. broke. Then they can't go to war, and then they can go out with the gold standard because they got all the gold. So that's my thought of what's happening. So if you're in these other countries, they rush to the U.S. dollar thinking it's safe haven, as you guys think going to a bank is safe haven. Well, I got my money in the bank, so it's safe there. Well, bullshit. That doesn't mean anything. It's not safe, clearly. It's not money in your account. You might have a balance in the account. If I go in there, it says I got $5,000. I could pull the $5,000. That's just to pay my bills, but that's it. I mean, it's ridiculous. All right, so let's listen to a little bit of Alistair. Okay, a few minutes of Alex.
Is a sign of more to come, or a one-off event, and now it'll be back to sleep for a while until the real thing happens. So could you kind of walk us through your assessment of the current situation of what you think is ahead?
Sure. Well, I wish it was back to sleep and stop worrying about it, but I'm afraid that would be wrong. One question was answered, and that is, do they bail in or bail out? Very quickly, the bail-in was dropped, and we're going back to bail out. And interestingly, the Fed has turned around and tried to deal with the losses that banks, and I think they're particularly aiming at the, if you like, the regional banks, the losses that the regional banks have accumulated on their bond investments. I mean, this was the thing about Silicon Valley Bank. I think roughly $70 billion worth of their assets were invested in US Treasury stock, agency stock, and similarly highly rated stuff. The problem is that quite a lot of that was long dated. They bought it when interest rates were pegged at zero or close to zero. And now we're looking at 4 3/4 to 5%, possibly even going up again this week. It created a run inevitably on that bank. And I mean, there are an enormous number of banks in this position. If you look at the Fed's H4 schedule, that shows, I think, something like 4.5 trillion of US Treasury debt on the commercial banks' balance sheets in total, and another 2.5 trillion, something like that, in agency debt. So we're looking actually at enormous numbers potentially involved here. And what is interesting is that the way the Fed has tried to deal with this is by opening up a new program, which it calls the Bank Term Funding Program, whereby doesn't matter what the coupon is, doesn't matter what the maturity is, it will take it all in at face value and pay you out. And you have that money for a year. So what I just wonder, I mean, lovely, okay, that stabilizes the system for the moment. But what I wonder about this is, what are the other banks going to do? I mean, if I was running a bank and I had some of this stuff on my balance sheet, I would just say, right, gimme. I would say to the Fed, yeah, thank you very much indeed. You can have my whole portfolio. And then with that, I can do either of two things. I can either go out and lend it because I've now got balance sheet space. I can lend it to someone else, create credit for someone else. Or alternatively, I just leave it at the Fed. Or there's a third alternative. If I do actually believe this whole thing is transient, then I go into the market and buy stuff at a substantial discount, having sold it all at par. So in other words, I do a bear operation. But the problem the Fed has with this is that all this stuff which they bought for a year, I mean, when the year is up, they're going to roll it. I mean, there's no way they're going to turn around and say, right, time's up, lads. You got to get your stock back. I want the money back. I mean, no. Have they been able to do that with QE, QT? No. I mean, there's quantitative tightening because this is actually what it is. It is expanding the Fed's balance sheet massively. It could potentially almost double it if you look at the numbers on that H4 form. I don't think it'll be quite that bad, but this is, I think, a means of kicking the can down the road, which is going to come back and bite them very, very badly, because all the monetary inflation that's involved, the credit inflation that's involved at the Fed level as opposed to the commercial bank level, I think will just destroy the currency. That is the risk. So basically, putting it in a nutshell, thing we didn't know for certain, would the Fed choose to protect the financial system or protect the currency? We now know the answer. They're choosing to protect the financial system. Oh, what a surprise. So that's where we are. And in terms of, does this deal with the crisis? No, it doesn't deal with the crisis. It deals with one aspect of the crisis. But the other aspect of the crisis, which I think is desperately important, is the position of banks in other jurisdictions. I mean, we've seen Credit Suisse sink to a new low. Why? Because depositors have been getting out of their deposits, moving their deposits to other banks. And this raises the other problem, which I think very few people really understand, and that is that the way in which a bank deals with a shortfall or an excess on its liability side is it goes into the market and buys or sells money in order to balance its balance sheet. So if you get deposits running out of a bank, then you've got to go in and borrow to make up the deficiency in the wholesale money markets. That is what the money markets are all about. We're not talking about clearing. Clearing is a different thing. We're just talking about keeping the balance sheets balanced, if you like. Now, what happens is, just imagine, Credit Suisse approaches your bank or your dealers through the money market and says, we want to borrow 10 million Swissy. What do? I think you turn around and say, I don't think I want to do that. No. So you find that banks in that position get these lines closed off to them. And the only thing an outfit like Credit Suisse can do is effectively go to its national central bank and get liquidity accommodation from there, which is a very bad sign. It is generally recognized that is your last resort. And if you're doing that, then you are in trouble. You are in deep trouble. So
that's what he's saying. What he's saying is, with all the debt, if you raise interest rates, you kill the economy because things are too expensive and there's too much debt. As you're trying to save the money supply, if you lower the rates, you save the economy, but you kill the dollar. That's what he's saying. It's destroyed. So the dollar is going to be destroyed. So we're two steps ahead. What does that mean? This is worthless. They'll come out with new dollars. And the key's buying gold and silver. I heard somebody, ask me yesterday, well, they're going to limit the amount of gold and silver we can have. I said, no. And as we sell it, they take the gold and silver. But I don't even know if I'm going to go to the coin store. He's going to take it and he'll resell it. He's not going to, so he'll give me a check. I go to the bank, cash the check or whatever. They're not going to limit how much gold and silver you can have because they don't know how much you have. They might, it's at 50,000 an ounce. I go sell an ounce, I get 50 grand. It's my money. They don't know how much more I have. Like I said, if I have to go to Switzerland to sell it, I go to Switzerland and sell it. Or I'll find somewhere, or I'll give it to my girlfriend in the Ukraine and say, go sell it there. Let's go sell it in Russia. I mean, there's options you can do, but they can't say this is all you can have. I got one friend who talks like this, and I keep going, you don't understand. It's all bullshit. It's all based on, will they do it? Let me go over the basketball again. Just FYI. So we got Alabama, Maryland. Alabama 8.5, 142. We're going to go over the 142. We've got San Diego State, Furman, which is already playing. We went under 135. We got Missouri, Princeton. Missouri 6.5, 146. We took Princeton. We've got Duke, Tennessee, 3.5. Duke minus 3.5, 125.5. We went under in the game. That's our 5-star. Houston playing Auburn. Houston minus 5.5, 132. We went under. We've got Penn State, Texas. Texas minus 5.5. I took Texas. We got Kansas, Arkansas. Kansas minus 4.5. I took under 142. And UCLA, Northwestern. UCLA minus 7.5, 125. I took UCLA minus 7.5. So that's our games. 5-star. Houston, Auburn under, and Duke, Tennessee under. So that's what I took. So I've gone through the games early on. Now I'm talking economics and what's going on with the gold. A little bit of Andrew McGuire or Alistair McLean, who obviously can teach it to us. I know it, but I don't know everything, but I know he's good. So I listen to him, I trust him, and I pick up stuff that I can teach you guys. So that's basically what's happening. So with that said, it's 1:15 on Saturday. We can go watch the games. I'm going to go hit the pool and my Chinese food. It's Saturday. It's what I do. They're again closed Sunday. I was going to go Thursday when I get my hair cut because it's like halfway there from where I got to go. It's like a half-hour drive, so it's like 15 minutes to get the haircut, and then if I were to keep going, I'd be there in 15 minutes. But I said, no, I want to do it on Saturdays. What am I going to do on Saturday for dinner, right? So I'll get the Chinese today. That otherwise, my diet's been good. So I did the 46-hour fast. Now, what's been really weird is I had the sciatic. The sciatics went away, and now my foot's fine, and now my knee's bothering me. So I think the gout was the sciatic, goes to the foot, gives me a problem, and now it's in the knee. So I don't think gout it's in the joints. I don't think it's necessarily a foot thing, because I think what I have in my knee is clearly gout. And I look at it accordingly, but it's much easier to walk with the knee. It's a little hard to bend sometimes, but I can walk fine with that. So I think that's what happens. And, so sometimes we have ailments that aren't real. They're different. They're not really, it's not really a sciatic. It's really gout. So you might treat it for the sciatic, but it's not. Anyway, please feel free to ask comments. I like the questions and the comments, and then we can have a little conversation and or answer some questions. So please feel free to ask. That's why I do a live show, or live class, we should say. I don't know where Bobby is, so he's going to owe us some silver, not being in class for a few days. Outside of that, I think that's it. So really, we need the competition for JP Morgan and the COMEX, and that's when gold and silver goes up. So if you ask, at least you know why it's being held down. You know that. You know it's being held down. You know you want physical, but you don't know when the competition's coming in, but it is coming from Russia, China, and therefore people in other currencies are going to the U.S. for safe haven, unrealizing that it's heavily inflated and it doesn't really have a value. And there probably isn't any currency besides gold and silver, which is real money, that can give you the protection you're looking for with the dollar. So people need to buy gold, not the dollar, which will make the value of the gold jump even higher. So that's what's happening. So go buy your silver today. There's no excuse. You can, for $100, you buy 4 ounces. There's no excuse because they're going to be worth $2,000 a piece. So you can turn $100 into $8,000. Why wouldn't you do that? What stock are you going to do that with? And they're going to your money's losing value, and now they're going to print a bunch of money for these banks. So it's going to lose even more value. And they're doing it on purpose. So it's going to happen. They're doing it on purpose. They'll come out with new currency, new this bullshit. If it ain't backed by gold, it's worthless. So you understand the concepts, and then it's as corrupt as America is, the Madoffs and the JP Morgans, you have to understand you want to buy gold and it will be valued. It's just, this is, I think, the trigger of it. The central bank digital currency, we don't need it. We don't want it. It ain't going to happen, or just a few, but you'll have options, I'm sure. Especially if you're in gold and silver, you'll have big options. And again, nobody wants to be controlled. We agree with that. And that's really the key to it. So I'm getting frustrated with people not understanding what Austrian economics is, and all of a sudden, Milton Friedman's an Austrian economist is now a monetarist. He's not a monetarist. There's no formulas. There's no velocity. There's none of that bullshit, because you can't do it anyway. You can't figure that out. As I show you in football, there's too many variables. So I don't really get that part of it. But anyway, it's strictly individual freedom. So the individual is in control instead of the government. That's basically Austrian economics. Say's law, you have supply and demand. You make something if there's demand for it, not electric cars. Nobody wants to be controlled. We don't want the government to control us. We do want a government. We do want laws. We do want sound money. We want gold system. And tell me what's wrong with that. I don't know. Why would we want the government control us? That's people that don't know what to do. So they want to be controlled and told what to do because they're not being taught anything. And I would say that's what's happening in school. They're just teaching social. Well, let the government, we'll take care of you. And I think that's the backlash. The government will take care of you. Don't worry about it. Look, the banks are collapsing. We'll bail everybody out. Don't worry. We'll take care of you. You can trust us. And then it's, look, here's digital currency. Here's electric cars because you don't want to be in gas cars. And this is the whole problem. But the smart people, we see the fox guarding the chickens, and we go, no. That's not going to happen. So I think that's it. Let's go watch some basketball. I'm going to go hit the pool and the Chinese. Have a wonderful day. Again, the 5 stars today, we're going to take Duke, Tennessee under, and we're going to take Houston, Auburn under. I just said the plays, but again, it's Alabama over. It's San Diego State under. It's Princeton. It's the under in Tennessee with that strong defense. It's UCLA. It's the under in the Kansas-Arkansas game. It's Texas. And it's the under in the Houston-Auburn game because we can't trust Houston, but they have a great defense. We're going to assume they miss a lot, but they're not going to let Auburn score, so it should be an under. So good luck on that. Don't bet a lot on us. After tomorrow, we'll have a much better feel for next week's games because then we can see the games and get a feel of everything. Like, how good is Princeton? Well, they beat Arizona. They're going to beat Missouri. And then if they beat Missouri, are they then going to be able to beat Baylor, let's say? So this is going to be, we'll have to see. But, we knew Purdue was a fraud. So I think I'm the happiest as Purdue lost. I didn't think they'd lose the first round, but I knew they weren't going to win the East. So I'm glad I hope I talked you out of that one. And your bracket isn't busted because you never had Purdue to go all the way anyway. I don't know who would. I don't know who thinks Purdue's any good. I don't even know why they're a 1 seed. They're probably a 4 seed. In the bracket they're in, they weren't the 4th best seed. They weren't the 4th best team. All right, everybody. Have a good week. Keep our eye open. You can see gold and silver, even on COMEX, is going up. Now, silver COMEX is another animal, but gold went up to almost 2,000 an ounce. I think it starts to go, but we need to break COMEX. We need the Russian system, something else. And that's really the problem. You don't have competition, so they keep the price down. And again, I'm assuming because the U.S. doesn't have any gold and silver, makes sense why they're keeping the price down. So just be careful on that. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Good luck in the tournament. I will talk to you about the same time tomorrow because of the tournament. I want to, basically so you can have the 12 o'clock game, but it looks like most of the games are after like 2 o'clock or whatever. So you should have them. Anyway, good luck today. Get your money into gold and silver as quick as you can. The value of it is getting killed as they bail out banks. That's not good. And here come the Russia and Chinese are coming with currency backed by gold. And the U.S. can keep holding on all they want that we're going to, we're going to go to war. We're going to kill you if you come out with gold backed currency. I've never heard of anything so ridiculous in my life. We're going to go to war because you're coming out with money backed by gold because we don't have any. Oh, my God. Well, why don't you fucking buy gold and let the gold price go up? Hello? All right, everybody. Have a good day. Take care. Be safe. All right. Ciao.